السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. اللہم لک الحمد عدد خلقک ورضا نفسک وزنۃ عرشک ومداد کلماتک. اللہم صلی علی سیدنا محمد وعلی آل محمد وبارک وسلم. رب اشرح لی صدری ویسر لی امری واحلل عقدۃ من لسانی یفقہوا قولی. رب یسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخیر. سبحانک لا علم لنا الا ما علمتنا انک انت العلیم الحکیم. Respected and regarded representatives and leaders of IMA Kuwait, dear brothers and sisters on board, at the outset, let me express my gratitude to the leaders for having given me this opportunity to speak to you this evening. I had the privilege of visiting your units and circles many times physically. But because of pandemic in the last 2.5 years, I couldn't come over there. I had the pleasure of being hosted by you many times, received love and warmth, experienced magnanimity from your side. Today I've been asked to speak on lessons for life after Corona. Let me tell you one thing before I dwell on the subject, that my whole presentation will be in the context of my country. I don't know, here on board, there would be many people would be Indians and many others from different countries. I have no exact idea about it. But when I speak, I have no knowledge of how pandemic was handled in Kuwait. But I have witnessed what has happened on ground during pandemic in our country. So my presentation carries a limitation. It has a limitation, and I would be restricting myself in my analysis and in my presentation of data to the confines of my own country. When we speak on Corona or COVID-19, it has impacted deeply every sphere of life. It has impacted the education system. It has exposed the fragile health infrastructure of our country. It has deeply impacted the economy, particularly in our country, wherein we have a vast majority of the people involved with informal economy. This COVID had impacted deeply on the mental health of people. We had many data and information about the developed countries, but recently our government department, National Disaster Management Authority, in collaboration with TIS, Tata Institute of Social Studies, they have come out with a finding which has been published in the form of a book, 200 pages voluminous, which speaks a lot about the mental health of our country. Right now we are passing through the COVID era, once we get out of it, the mental health problem is looming large over our country. Already we have found how fragile our health infrastructure is. And still weaker we have mental health infrastructure. So that is going to be a very grave aspect. An aspect which has a great concern, because that report says that 75% of Indians have been impacted in one way or other mentally. Around 50% of the people are suffering from anxiety and depression. And 75% of the population has some issues with their mental health. I don't say mental illness. So this pandemic has impacted every sphere of life. But today, those are all not my subject. I'll be focusing particularly on the given subject. And I'm very thankful to my organizers for having given me a very simple subject. Lessons drawn from this pandemic, and what would we be doing as grown-up persons, as matured peoples, as responsible citizens of our country after the COVID. So that is going to be my subject. We have witnessed two waves of COVID. The second wave was a huge catastrophe in our country. When we were caught in the middle of COVID pandemic in the first time, we were not aware of the entire gamut of the problem. But during the second surge, we knew in spite of that we could not handle. Thanks to the numbness of our policymakers, antipathy of our leaders, and heartlessness of the black marketeers, we have seen all these. The cumulative number of cases as of today is, total number of cases in India is 3.5 crore. That is 35 million. Total number of deaths is 4.37 lakhs. I'll speak about these numbers a little later. At global level, worldwide, total number of cases is 20.9 crore. And total number of deaths across the globe is 43.9 lakhs. But the amazing thing, I would like to draw your attention towards this, is that on a single day, India witnessed 1.5 lakh cases and 1,800 deaths. That was too huge. You would have seen an interview between an epidemiologist, a scientist of America, and Mr. Karan Thapar on the Wire website. The scientist, she said that in the month of March, when we informed the government, the number of cases were around 388. But within 15 days, the amount of pandemic or the amount of infections rose to 15 lakh. It's huge. It's amazing. In spite of warnings, we could not handle it properly, and within 15 days, we found 15 lakh cases and more than 1.2 lakh deaths. And we know that these numbers were underreported. You know, we have a very old and very established newspaper called as The Hindu. The Hindu has been doing research and publishing his articles continuously on the reported number of deaths. It went through all the data and record for the past 10-15 years. And it found out the number of deaths in that particular period when we were hit by the second wave in that particular period. And then they found the anomaly between the numbers in the past 10 years and in this. And found that using scientific tools and techniques, they have come out with a revealing aspect that what the numbers the state governments have reported, sometimes in some states like Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, they have reported 30 times lesser than the actual number of deaths. 30 times lesser than the actual number of deaths in these states. Some of the states, they have reported 10 times lesser. And fairest reporting was from Kerala. Whatever they have reported is 50% of what has happened. So these numbers, what I am quoting is the government numbers. And what the research says is those were underreported numbers. Now my point is that the COVID has taught us great lessons, because my subject today is lessons for life. So that's why I was compelled to speak a little bit about the background of COVID situation, how we handled it. We saw footages of crematoriums having a long queue, taking 10 to 12 hours for an ambulance to reach that point where the dead body is cremated. We have seen floating dead bodies in river Ganges. Our social media's timeline were choked with the videos of half-buried, infected dead bodies on the soil of Ganges, on the banks of Ganges River. These were precarious to look at. Very horrible. It was nothing less than a catastrophe. It was nothing less than an emergency. It was nothing less than a crisis. I could not see any person. Wherever I went, wherever, to whomever I met, in one way or other, every person has been touched emotionally by COVID. Either some person in his house got infected, some relative in near one and dear one died. There has been a catastrophe. There has been a very sad story every person has to tell. Now, the handling of the COVID situation by the devotees of power was pathetic. And the situation was worse than our neighbors like Nepal and Bhutan and Sri Lanka. They could manage and they could handle in a better way than we. This was the situation. So these happenings around tell us a lot of story, and we have a lot of lesson to draw from these events. I would confine myself to 3 lessons. Every person here on board, be it me or be it you, every person has his own learnings. It all depends upon your worldview and your experience, my worldview and my experience. It all depends upon from where I stand and look at the event. It's all my perspective. It's all my learning. I'm just sharing with you so that I can kindle that part of your brain which can draw your own lessons. These are my lessons. So every person here on board, everybody who is here listening, viewing the program, he must talk out. He must find out what are his personal lessons and learnings. And these learnings are very important for future. They'll be there with our subconscious mind. And that will motivate us to be more fruitful for humanity, to change our life for better, to design our life in such a way that we can handle any other crisis when we happen to face in future in a better way. Now, 3 lessons. The first and foremost lesson, what I understood, as I was introduced that I had been delivering Dars Quran. That means lessons from Quran. I have been involved in many circles where others deliver lectures from Quran, lectures from Hadith. But the most effective lesson virus has taught us, that is about the fragility of life, how fragile our life is, how uncertain our life is, and how transient our life is. This we had been reading and listening, but the COVID has taught us and it has shaken us. And our senses, we have come to our senses to understand that life is so fragile. And for death, there need not be an age limit wherein we have at subconscious level that after we cross 50, cross 60 or 70, then only we are going to taste death. No, that has been proven wrong. For death, there need not be any ailment. We have seen people having good health, having no other issues and no other problems. In spite of that, they succumbed. So the first lesson is about this life. As a moment, as a believer, we should know the reality of this world. In the second wave, death struck us. And there was huge catastrophe everywhere. NGOs were working on field to save the lives of people. And our Jamaat, the organization with which I am associated here, it outsmarted every other organization in working on field. Our members and workers and cadre, they ran from pillar to post to arrange for oxygen cylinders, to identify oxygenated beds, to arrange for remdesivir and other medicines, to arrange for ambulances. Yes, really they did commendable job. Friends and foes, everyone appreciated, applauded. Not only Jamaat, many other organizations, Hindu organizations, Sikh organizations, Christian organizations, you could have seen them being very active in the field and helping people to save their lives. When we say about death, death of someone who is nearer to you is very painful. Hearing about death of somebody else could be just a statistics for you, could be just a number, could be just a news. But death of a near one and dear one is very painful. And I have gone through that stage when I lost my own brother-in-law exactly 1 year back because of this COVID. And these deaths have shattered many families. In spite of spending lakhs of rupees and having spent so much of money, the doctors in the hospital, people were not ready to tell what exactly is going on, what exactly the treatment is being given to the patient. They were not able to spell that. And many have gone trapped in the death trap. Financially, they have gone red. So this is about death, which has caused great agony in many families. Quran says, وَمَا هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَهْوٌ وَلَعِبٌ وَإِنَّ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانُ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. Quran says that, and this worldly life is not anything but diversion and amusement. And indeed, the home in the hereafter, that is the eternal life. If only you knew. The eternal life is the life of Akhirat. We could never forget it. We had forgotten it. We did not have it on the priority list to prepare for the life of Akhirah. But COVID has given us a lesson to keep it on the top of the priority list. Concerning about the death, Quran teaches us, and the lesson what we have drawn from the COVID situation is that this worldly life and the blessings and the ne'mat, they are going to vanish. Nothing is going to remain here forever. And the life to come hereafter is going to be eternal. The blessings are going to be eternal. There is no decadence in those blessings of Allah. And one has to prepare for that. Quran says, Kullu nafsin za'iqatul maut. Wa innama tuwaffawna ujurakum yawmal qiyamah. Faman zuhziha anin nari wa udkhila al-jannata faqad faz. Wa mal hayatud dunya illa mata'ul ghurur. Chapter number 3, verse number 185. Quran says every soul will taste death, and you will only be given your full compensation on the day of resurrection. So he who is drawn away from the hellfire and admitted in paradise has attained full success. And what is the life of this world except enjoyment and amusement and a delusion? Dear brothers and sisters, let me quote one or two hadiths. It is narrated on the authority of Anas, the companion of Prophet, who says that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, for every human being, there are two gates in the sky, one through which his deeds ascend, and the other one through which his sustenance descends. And when the believer dies, yes, both the doors cry, because they got the honor of delivering something to a believer. And those doors got the honor of passing on the records of mu'min believer to the higher skies. A believer, when he dies, you can note that the doors, they become sad. They mourn the death. The area over which the believer was walking, it mourns because it lost a beautiful person on the surface of earth. the grave, the desire that I should become the host of a believer. It becomes proud for hosting a believer. So a believer, when he dies, he attains a very high posture. Now coming to the conclusion of this first lesson, what is the lesson we have for action? What is the action plan? What is the project that I need to look after? What is the project I need to involve myself in? What is the project you will be having? To me, it's basically getting involved with religious organizations, whichever is available in your vicinity. Get involved with them and start working on self-purification. Start working on our own tazkiyah so that I and you develop to our fullest potentials. We become excellent. We become God conscious. We get prepared for death. We offload our sins. We get forgiveness right here before death. So we need to work on ourselves. We need to change. We need to do a course correction. We need to mature and grow, because death can strike any time. This life is transient. The life is very fragile. So this is the first lesson, and those are the projects, things to do. Those are the action plan with respect to the first lesson. I am left with only 6 minutes. I think we have to conclude this program by 12 Indian time. We started at 11:27. Number 2 is our strength lies in being part.
15 minutes. You have at least 15 minutes. You have at least 15 minutes.
Okay. The second lesson is that our strength lies in being part of a community. This is the second lesson what I have drawn personally. The virus has taught us a great lesson that I cannot afford to live in my glass house, in my own comfort zone, detached away from other people. I have seen with my own eyes certain people who never cared for others, who never had any intention of involving themselves with social work, getting mixed with the society, caring for the society. They never had any intention and never exhibited that character. But when they got infected, it was only the neighbors who came for their help. Had it not been the help received by others, their life would have been doomed. And that COVID has taught a lesson to them as well, that you cannot afford to be away from the society. You cannot be dissociated from the society. Being a human, one has to have a close knit with people. Our life is intertwined, interconnected. Relationships matter. Life without relationship is mere selfishness. And the COVID has given a great lesson that you can't be selfish. It's always give and take. When the situation was worse, for some people, they were at the receiving end of mercy. But when it was a time for giving, they never gave it to the society. So getting connected. Of course, our life is intertwined whether we agree or we disagree. But the lesson what we got is that let us acknowledge this strong connectivity. I have seen many people getting closer to their bigger families, running to save the lives of their relatives. I have seen people becoming active on social media, running for others' lives. This is my pet subject. I have spoken many times that living for others gives the meaning for your life. When I don't live for others, my life is meaningless. It is only the purpose which defines my character. If I am there for living for others, then I find my worth. Who am I? I discover then. So this is the second thing what we have witnessed during this pandemic. There are three categories of people. Number one is social. Number two, antisocial. Number three, non-social. Those who are social, they're always social. They're extrovert. They care for others. The antisocial elements, they have a very myopic view of their own community and other communities. But we have seen when we established hospitals, when we established oxygen bank, when we established call center, when we attended more than 10,000 calls within a month, and positively when we could connect to resources for more than 50% of the calls, then many people whom we brand as extremists, they themselves realize the value of the Islamic teachings and the way we worked in the society. And as far as the non-social people are concerned, I just spoke about them. They too realized that they need to mend their lives. This is the second lesson. What is the project? What is the lesson I take personally from this second dimension? Is that create groups, get connected with your family, the larger family, get connected with your friends, keep transacting words and ideas, keep giving and exchanging action plans, speak about their children, find out if somebody is having anxiety problem, depression problem, find out if somebody has got an issue with attending online classes. Express your concern for them. Share your ideas with them. Building a strong community. Build relationship with your family. Build relationship with friends. And we need to come out of the shell in which we have been living. The comfort zone and the compounds which we have erected around us, which has stopped us seeing the reality of human beings. Now this is high time. COVID has given a lesson for life. After Corona, we need to find out the meaning of our life, create a purpose, get connected with people, form communities, and work for the betterment of others. Last lesson, but not the least. The third lesson is that if you had been eating 3 times a day, then consider yourself as very few luckiest people on the surface of earth. because this corona has shattered many people's employment. Many persons who were involved in small businesses that collapsed, and they have got trapped in the vortex of loans and debts, and they don't have ways and means to come out of it. Dear brothers and sisters, I just wanted to share with you a few emotional events which I knew. One person, I know two families. They are not from the lower class. They are from the upper class, whom you bracket them as higher societies. People from that echelon, people from that category, two of them rank, they called are workers. And they begged, they demanded that food be supplied to them, cooked or raw. Whatever is available. They have flats in posh apartments. They have dashing cars. They were well-known people, but the main earning member died. And they were late to lurches. They were not having liquid money. They will be having assets, but that was not the time to liquidate all those assets. They requested for food. And the condition was that the person who delivers should keep the tiffin or the ration kit on the gates. And once the delivery boy goes off, they will come and pick up that ration kit. They will not show their faces. This was a condition. They should come and deliver it, keep it at the gate, go off, then we will come and pick up. I know a person who is a retired person and who had enough money, who was living a respectable life. He got infected with COVID. He was admitted in hospital. You know, hospitals charged sometimes 2 lakh rupees per day, 3 lakh rupees per day. And within a span of 15 days, they had to shell out from their pocket 30 to 40 lakh rupees. And this gentleman I know, whatever he has, saved his money, lifelong saved money. In spite of gathering all those things, he was falling short of 2 lakh rupees. He gave an application. We replied that we don't have any other money except from the zakat head of account. He said, unfortunately, because of COVID, I have become a recipient of zakat. And now I have become eligible because of the situation. And then we arranged for that 2 lakh rupees. So my lesson is that if we have been having 2 meals per day, 3 meals per day, consider ourselves to be luckiest people. Others have been suffering. But these tough times are sometimes God-given opportunities for people to grow. Inna Allah huwa razzaqu dhul quwwatil mateen. Indeed, it is Allah who is continual provider, the firm possessor of strength. He is the one who provides us. He is the one who nourishes us. These testing times are basically for us to lift up. These are opportunities for us to do something for humanity. Now, my brothers and sisters, I would like to conclude. We here in India, our organization in collaboration with other organizations, we have come up with a project called as Hand Holding Project. We have planned to help at least 10,000 people within next 1 year. It's a very elaborate plan. We have around 5,000 units of our organization across India. We are working in villages and towns and cities. So through those units, we will conduct surveys. We will find out who had been hit hardly by this COVID, whose business got collapsed, who is in need of help, and what sort of help. Some people need some idea for a startup. Some people need some idea to scale up their business. Some people need a network to promote their product. Some people need money as well. So we have different frontal organizations working for the upliftment of our community economically. So now we intend to collect money. And we have microfinance societies registered in different states. We will collect money from philanthropists, business people, those who could shell out some money for the betterment of the community. Either it could be a charity, or it could be a loan, or it could be a deposit. And what the action plan which I have for me, which I intend to share with you, is that in what way can you help in uplifting the people who are suffering worst from this economic crisis? If you have a very good idea of business, you can share that idea. If you know some supply chain, you can connect to those people. If you can give us some tips for marketing, share those tips so that people can sell their product. If you can take if you can take classes, if you can guide them, if you can counsel them, do it. If you can invest some money in some project, do it. If you can save some money in our societies where we lend money, microfinance societies, you can deposit your money. There are umpteen number of ways to help people come up in their life, to strengthen the economy of the people who were not poor. The time and the situation has brought them to that situation, to that point, so that they need certain help, either in the form of guidelines and counseling or in the form of finance. So these are the three great lessons what I have understood from this COVID, and related to those lessons, I have enumerated a few projects, a few action plan, a few things that I can involve myself with. With these few words, with these ideas, I conclude, and I thank my friends once again for having given this opportunity. May Allah accept our endeavors. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.